Welcome back, everyone. This week on the Flying RuNR, Tony and I are taking the reins again while Team Ellis are still gallivanting around the world. This episode's going to be a little bit different because Tony and I are going to focus on New York because Tony and Sharon, they're also off to New York. So it's our favorite episode of packing the bags and ready to go. Are you ready to run? Let's go.
Welcome to the thrilling world of the Flying RuNR, brought to you by the Marathon Mates.
Welcome to episode 71 of the Flying RuNR Podcast. Now, firstly, guys, you're going to have to bear with us again because our episode numbers are a little bit out of whack at the moment. Just with Tara and Tim being away, Tony and I, we are pre-recording some episodes because Tony and Sharon, they're also off to New York shortly to join Tara and Tim in running the New York Marathon. So this episode will be 71 and it will come out just before the New York Marathon.
You got that right.
Yeah, excellent. I know. I'm thinking, have I got the numbers right? Well,
I think we've got them right. I think we've got them right. So.
If not, I'm sure Tim will tell us if we don't have it right. So, listeners, if you don't hear from Tony and I again, you know we've been sacked because Tim hasn't been impressed with our order number.
Yeah, absolutely.
But ultimately, we're just here to have fun and to get the message across about running marathons and having fun because ultimately that's what it's about.
100%.
So Tony, how you been?
Hey, I'm good and I'm excited because we are inching closer to jumping on that plane and heading over to New York. Looking forward to catching up with marathon mates. We've got Kay Mass that'll be there with her husband Jed. We've got Terry Frew that will be there. We've got Carol Moore that we ran Boston and Sydney that we caught up there. She'll be going for her 6th star.
Awesome.
It's just so exciting. I can't wait. And it's just at that stage, Luch, where we're pre-recording. So I've got about a week to go before we jump on that plane. But this week is going to be one of those slowest weeks of my life. I can just sense it.
Always the way. And we also have a friend of the episode, Kai Luck, that we that spoke on the episode back. It was episode 55. So I know he's very much looking forward to New York because New York has a special place in his heart, like most of the majors do for people. So, Kai, good luck, and we can't wait to hear how you go.
Yeah, can't wait to meet you, Kai. It'll be, I'm looking forward to that.
But question is, Tony, have you and Sharon started packing yet?
I know. We normally, so our packing regime tends to be in our head. We'll do it the weekend before we go. In reality, it's usually the night before we go.
Because, and are you guys just doing New York or are you going somewhere after New York?
Yeah, so once we've done New York, we're going to spend a couple of days in Nashville. Luch, I do a music podcast with a couple of mates. One's in Adelaide, one's in Sydney. And it's called the Unfiltered Undiscovered Podcast. So we talk about a lot of new music that are coming out from new artists. You know, someone releases their first song on Spotify and we'll interview them. And during that process, we've got to meet so many people in the country genre. And I've got to say, country's not really my favorite genre. But as I've got to understand the artists and the music that they're putting out, which is really good, I've just got to go see, I've got to get a sense of Nashville. So we're going to spend a couple of days in Nashville. And then on the way home, we're stopping in at Honolulu. So, and that should help us a little bit with the jet lag as well, because I know last time we had a stopover in Honolulu, the jet lag wasn't too bad because more or less we're on almost the same time zone-ish. It's just that I think we lose a day or something. There's this line that the day just lost.
Yeah, it's literally it's a few hours difference, but yet it's the day before. So it's really weird.
That's
how it works.
It is really, really weird, but looking forward to it just the same. So, and of course, you've run New York, and if you were running it again, I guess what would you most be looking forward to?
Oh, New York in itself, even without marathon mode, is just an amazing city. But I think for me, the way the city gets into it, because unlike any of the other majors, New York has an opening ceremony for the marathon. And I remember, so I did New York in 2016.
Yeah.
And it was like a big party. Like at the end there were fireworks. You hear Frank Sinatra's song New York, New York, and the one that Beyonce and the one that Jay-Z did. You think I'd remember who was done with, but the way that the city comes alive as well, and everyone really gets into it. And so I wasn't marching in the parade, but some friends I did it with, they were marching. But so you get all excited when you get all excited when you see the Aussie flags go by, and then when you see your friends marching in it, and then because I've got Italian background, and then seeing the Italian flags, it's just it's like New Year's Eve. Like everyone is there for the right reasons. Everyone is there to celebrate it, and I think that's what really stood out for me with New York. Unlike some of the other maras I've done overseas, the way that people get into it post marathon, like Medal Monday in New York, it's massive. Like you go around wearing that medal, strangers, oh, you did great yesterday. Like bad American accent, granted.
It's a horrible accent.
It's a shocker. I'm not even going to try it anymore. But the way that the New Yorkers congratulate you, I don't think I've had that in any other city.
No, and I've got to agree with that. I mean, wearing that medal on just the night of the marathon, the amount of people that just stop and congratulate you and well done, and you don't see that in any other city to the extent that you see it in New York. So 100%. So
not even in Boston. Like I thought that was a bit, so I'd say that the way that the New Yorkers appreciate people doing the marathon and the fact that they wait until the last finisher crosses the line and the way they celebrate that, it's just absolutely amazing. And so I did New York, as I said, in 2016. So marathon's the Sunday. It was in New York. Sorry, it was the US election on the Tuesday.
Yeah.
And this was when it was Trump versus Clinton. And I'm just frantically trying to find some of the signs along marathon course have to be some of the best ones I have ever seen. So some of them were, if you think it's bad now, wait till Tuesday. You run better than our government.
Yeah.
Run like Trump is trying to get your post-race poncho. I think that one would have been up there as probably one of my faves. And the people handing out like paper towels, the street parties people have. And I can't remember which borough we were coming in, but so you go from having heaps of space, and then you come into areas in which people are pretty much standing right on top of you, but just because they want to get close to the action. And I remember the only time it was quiet was when we were crossing over the bridges. Quiet, and come off the bridge, bang.
Yeah, there's a Jewish section in Brooklyn as well. There's a particular type of they're a particular type. I've forgotten the name, but let me just look it up while I try and babble my way through. But it was deadly quiet because it was just.
And that was one thing that no, I shouldn't say making me laugh because I don't want to insult anyone, but it was the one thing that really stood out to me was they've got thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people running through the city, through the town, and they're just going through their normal Sunday routine, crossing the road.
It is a daily, it is a job. It is a Sunday, it's a normal working day. So it's a very interesting scenario, and the kids were looking at you like, who are you?
Yeah.
And it was really interesting. And
and it was kind of like we were invading their space.
The Hasidic Jewish neighborhood. That's it. So as you're coming into along Bedford Avenue and entering into South Williamsburg, it's the Hasidic Jewish neighborhood. And it was really interesting for me because as you're running into that, there's like a band almost on every corner as you're coming through Brooklyn. And then all of a sudden you hit the Hasidic Jewish neighborhood. And it's like every other component of the road. They've got their barriers up. They've got, it's just no one there. And the people that are there have no interest to see anyone running through. So there's no cheering and it's just deadly quiet. So you would mostly be looking forward to the city and the crowds. Can I summarize that?
And truth be told, let's face it, the Expo.
Well, we need to start at the Expo. Yeah. So let's talk about the Expo.
So, and for the listeners that don't know, the Expo is at I want to say Jervis Convention Centre.
That's it. Your memory's great. We have no run sheet, ladies and gentlemen. So just to give you an idea,
we're just winging it because Tim's not here to do it for us. So we're just winging it. But ultimately, like both of us have done New York, so we do know what we're talking about when it comes to this race. I thought it was a really good setup. So you pick your bib, up. Then from memory, you got your T-shirt, and there were people saying, "Oh no, you can't exchange the T-shirt if the size is too wrong." Then you had to pick your bib up for the dash to the finish, and you go through because when I did it, ASICS was the major sponsor.
Yeah.
Brought a bucket load of stuff from there. Nice. This won't surprise you, Tony, but I actually brought a foldable shopping trolley with me from home because I thought I was going to buy that much stuff.
Truly. Sorry.
I honestly brought a shopping trolley with me, and then so you leave ASICS, and then there's all the different type of vendors. New York again is one of the ones in which there are other footwear companies, but obviously, as we said before, they just can't put New York Marathon. So at that point, it would have been New Balance. I can't remember who else was there. They can put New York 26.2.
Yeah, and Run New York and things like that. And it's interesting after our last episode where we were talking about or talking about Tim seeing just a lot of Chicago 2024. I went back and looked at some of the ASICS gear that we got from Chicago, and Chicago 26.2 didn't say marathon, and they're from ASICS. So yes, in many ways, Tim would have been right. From other suppliers, it would have said either Chicago 2024 or Chicago 26.2. But from the Nike section, there was lots of stuff that said Chicago Marathon. So, I'm looking forward to the Expo because, ours was 2018. You ran it a little bit earlier than us. So, ours was 2018. It was New Balance. I really had no idea what to expect. I had no desire for any sort of merchandise. Yet I walked out of there with, a big hoodie jacket. Not a running jacket because that wasn't a thing for me. I didn't need it, so to speak. So I regret I didn't buy a cap, but I got a nice running shirt as well. But also I like the marathon shirt that you get as part of the marathon, long sleeve. It's got marathoner on the back. So it really high quality stuff. So that was and I'm excited to see other vendors and see what's happening in the world. And that I'm a bit of a shoe nerd. I went to Wildfire, which is a running shop here in Brisbane the other day on the weekend. And I can just sit there and look at shoes and play with them and touch their, squeeze their foam till the cows come home, right? So I'm looking forward to that aspect of the Expo.
And I think it's going to be interesting if they have vendors like roof tiling, hair people joining the Navy, joining the Navy SEAL. So it'd be interesting to see if New York is similar to Boston in that sense, because I don't recall when I did it, I don't remember if there was any of those non-running related vendors.
I agree. I can't recall, but it was 6 years ago. So, I'll be surprised if it is, because I'd imagine space at New York comes at a premium. So, and I really don't understand guttering companies and things like that, because how do they get a return on their investment in going to an expo? So, but yeah, looking forward to the expo, and then it's not a bad walk back to our hotel, to be honest. No,
because I think when I did New York, they didn't sell the finisher gear at the expo. They had a tent, like a marquee set up at the actual race.
yeah,
area.
down at what's it called, Tavern on the Green in Central
That's
Park.
it. Yes.
And exactly the same with us. Yeah, there was no finisher gear at the expo, and that's why I'm surprised that so many people had said, "Oh yeah, I got finisher gear at the expo in New York," and I'm thinking, okay, but everyone's still. I mean, even as part of the New York communication now, they talk about get your medal engraved and your finisher gear on the Monday. So,
but that I remember that because I went with some friends on the Monday. I bought some finisher gear a few days earlier. We thought, oh, let's just go see on the Monday. But the queue to get the medals engraved, apparently it was
ridiculous.
It was like minimum 3-hour wait. I'm like, no, I've got better things. Like I'm not spending 3 hours of my time in New York just to get my medal engraved for free. I'd rather go eat a bagel somewhere.
Yeah, and we've got none of our medals engraved at all. And that was one of the reasons why we made that choice very early in the piece, because we went down to get some finisher gear. There was a line there for your medals, which went round the block and down Fifth Ave, I think it is, maybe, I don't know. And and then there was another line that just went through so you could buy your finisher gear. Yeah. So we just went down that one. So I think we fly out of New York about 2:00 in the afternoon, so we can't be sitting around waiting all day to get our medals engraved. So
so it'll be interesting to see if they release the finishers merchandise before the Monday, because I got some. I think I went after the dash to the finish on the Saturday.
Okay.
And got some then.
Yeah, it'd be worth keeping an eye out for that. So, and no doubt we'll hear about it. As you know, people start posting stuff in Facebook groups and whatnot. So I've got no doubt that we will hear it. Now, I didn't do Dash to the Finish when we did it in 2018, mainly, Lucia, because that was our very first marathon, and Sharon and I had no idea whether we were going to make running the marathon. And we thought it was a bit silly to be running 5Ks before the marathon when you didn't know if you were going to complete the marathon. So tell me about Dash to the Finish. What was that like?
It was so I wish I could. So it starts obviously downtown New York, and I kind of had the mindset that it was going to do the last 5Ks of the marathon. It didn't. So we actually ran past the UN building, the Dash to the Finish when I did it, pretty much didn't have any of the marathon course excluding coming into Central Park.
Okay.
And it was really good because people who weren't running the marathon could also do it as well. And I've always been the type that anytime I do a race, if it's at home, interstate, or even overseas, I tend to do a shakeout run the day before, because like I don't go full out because you shouldn't go full out the day before a big race, but just for me, it's shaking the cobwebs, and
Yeah.
I felt so good at the end of that of the dash to the finish. I'm like, okay, if I can feel this good now, hopefully I can have that same feeling tomorrow. And it's just like just seeing everyone do the 5K for the same reason, just to shake the legs out, meet people. I really enjoyed it because I think that's when I realized it's like Central Park's not flat. And it wasn't too bad at the dash to the finish, but we'll come to it in a bit. But I remember coming into Central Park on the Sunday, I'm like, okay, nearly there, nearly there. I'm like, where is this finish line? Because it just goes on and on. And then
So
I'm like,
is it the actual finish line?
it's the same finish line.
You're just coming to it from a different angle by the
I-
looks. Is that right?
Yeah. I think, well, the year we did it, God, I'm trying to think. Yeah, I think we came in from Columbus Circle, way from memory. I don't think
Okay.
we came in from the Fifth Avenue.
So I'm looking at it here. I've put it up on my computer. So let's have a look at what it's doing for me. So you start at United Nations. You run down for East 42nd Street, past the New York Public Library. You then turn right into 6th Ave until you get to the park, the Central Park. You run, where's Columbus Avenue?
I could be making that up.
You then enter the park pretty much there, Central Park South, and you do the internal loop, and it looks like you cross the finish line backwards, I think. Let me see if I can pull a map up for the course itself, New York Marathon.
Because I remember taking a photo. Okay, here.
Yeah.
Just going to bring it up because I'm like, if I'm feeling this way now, okay, I can't actually. I think from how I can see the photo, you come under. The finish is the same.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's just the vibe. Like everyone,
It's the vibe.
it's the vibe. It's like because everyone's just so looking forward the next day. Everyone's just kind of ready to get it done. Because then I remember after the dash, I met a friend that I was traveling with, and we had Macca's for breakfast, as you do.
Yeah, as you do.
Yep, Macca's. But it's and just having a look at some videos from the opening ceremony, which is on a Friday night. The firework displays go off. It's just like when you hear New York, and you're going to hear that, like listeners, you'll hear that. Well, for those that haven't done New York and that are running, as you're coming onto the Verrazano Bridge, you're going to hear that song to death. But everyone is singing it.
Yeah.
Because everyone is just so excited.
And now that we're so we've done the dash to the finish, and I'm excited for that. And if I walk it, I'll be happy. If Sharon walks it, I might do it as a bit of a slow jog. So I did 5 on Sunday, and I did it in 38 minutes or something, and that just felt really good to me at the moment. So that's it's certainly not going to be a fast dash. It's just going to be one that gets me in the mood for the run on Sunday. But let's talk a little bit now about, I guess, the starting process, because logistically New York's tough, and I would say it's tough for all runners. In our case, going through a company like Traveling Fit, we actually get a bus to the finish line, a start line, which is awesome. The downside is that we will be there. I think the bus leaves at 6 o'clock in the morning. So likely we will be there around 7:30. By the time we're in the athletes' village, it's 8 o'clock. and I don't run until 11:30.
I think that's one thing that sometimes people tend to forget. It's like because I remember when we got up at the crack of dawn,
Yeah.
we were messaging friends like, "Why are you guys up so early?" Because it's like we've got to be on the bus soon because we've got to get out to the start. We have to go through security. Personally, I think I'd rather be at the start early because if you don't go through a travel company, you have to get the ferry over, and then you
Yeah.
have to get a bus from the ferry to
Mm.
Fort Worth.
Yeah.
And I think the first thing I'll never forget getting off the bus, bag check number one. I
Mm.
think before we got to the athletes village, it was at least 2 or 3 bag checks.
Yeah.
And you could see people getting agitated, but I'm like, do what you have to do. If you've got nothing to hide, you
Yeah.
shouldn't have to worry.
And the other thing is that it's not like you should be in a rush, right? So
Yeah.
I think the official start for this, like the elites, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's about, professional wheelchair is 8:00. Professional women's kickoff at 8:35 and professional men's at 9:00. So if I'm there at 8:00, let's say worst case scenario, 8:00, right? The only people that are racing in the next hour are elites.
Yeah.
So if you're agitated and frustrated about getting into the start village, you are not going to have a great run, right? Because you're potentially the first waves then is 9:10, 9:45, etc., etc. So there is a big wait between from say 9:10, 9:45, 10:20, 10:55, 11:30. And already a lot of people are saying, what do we do at the start village? Well, let me tell you what I did last time. We took an old yoga mat, cut it in half. Sharon had half, I had half. I didn't get dressed fully in my running gear back at the hotel because I got dressed there. And I guess as a bloke, that's a relatively easier thing to do than some ladies. So I just had a bit of a kip. I had some coffee. I found my Dunkin' Donuts beanie and then promptly threw it away when we started running. Silly move, Tony. We had some bagels lined up for the porta potties 2 or 3 times during that 3 to 4 hour window, whatever it was. It's amazing how you pass the time. You watch people taking off along the Verrazano Bridge where we were in Pink Wave. And it's just, it's good. It's like I found the time went relatively quickly. So
Yeah, I would agree because I can't remember what time we ended up getting there. But again, very similar to you, we had all of our winter gear because we thought, it's going to be freezing. So we had the snow gear from Aldi, which came in very handy. But it was a bit chilly, but it wasn't too bad. We also had the yoga mat, but in the end, it didn't need to wear half of it because we got really, really lucky with the weather. It was perfect running conditions in the morning. But again, we found our spot, sat down, had a nap. I didn't venture out to go get like a coffee because I can't do coffee before a run. It's just been can't do it. If I'd known then how valuable the Dunkin' Donut beanies were, I would have found one. So, guys, you can take any, and for our listeners that are doing New York, if it's the one piece of advice you take from Tony and I, get it. If they're still giving them away, get your beanie and hold on to it.
Yeah. And in all likelihood, you may never ever wear it again, but it is such a ugly souvenir of the New York Marathon, and it's one that's highly regarded for whatever reason. So, hey, look, before we go on, now for our viewing public, the ones that this is the original Traveling Fit shirt that we ran in 2018.
God, they've made some great changes over the years.
Yeah. So, but I'm actually going to wear that for the 5K.
Oh.
And I've showed you a little sneaky thing. Oh, after our last episode, Lucia, and I'm going to make back bibs a thing. So Sharon and I have got our victory lap back bib. for our victory lap on New York. So I'm looking forward to wearing that and being able to show our listeners and friends what our back bib looks like after the race, because I don't want to jinx it by.
And it's such a cool idea. And then time passes, and then you start to go through the little gate area, because surprisingly the waiting area is massive, but then to get onto like the little bit to get onto the bridge is not big. And security again is tight. People are checking bibs like there's no tomorrow. There was someone about maybe two people in front of me. They had a fake bib, and the person at the gate picked it up straight away, and they got left out.
Wow.
I just didn't know it's real. And she's like, it's not real. Like, there was nearly some beef. But it was quite good to see that they really did analyze the bibs, because in some races you can probably get away. I don't want to. Unfortunately, people do copy bibs, which is why they say you should never post your bib a picture of you with your bib and the race number online until afterwards. Like, saying that, I've done it all the time, excluding Boston. Boston, when I posted my picture, I made sure I took out the bib number.
Yeah, for sure. And so I agree with you. You sort of walk from this spacious village zone where you've had your own space and everything, and then all of a sudden you're walking through like fenced areas and with a crowd that's generally good natured. There's not, especially in our waves, it's generally good natured. What I did find interesting, you've mentioned Frank Sinatra's New York, but as we're coming up towards our, where you line up for the start, and we're going under the bridge, not on the top tier.
Okay.
And so it'll be very similar from my memory anyway of what we did last time. It's almost like they took what we did in 2018 and said, yeah, you can have the same experience. And we've said, thanks for that. When they get the person singing the US national anthem, right? So, and this is a little bit of a tip. If you think you want to get in front of people, when the national anthem starts singing, people will stop and they'll put their hand on their hearts, or
hat comes off.
Yeah, the hat comes off. So they'll just stand there. The American runners will just stand there and pay respect to the anthem. So that's the time that Australians and every other nationality can get further to the front of their starting wave. So just a little bit of a tip. So then we kick off. We're going over the Verrazano Bridge.
Did you ever hear, when I did it, I got told this myth, and I don't know if someone was over my leg, and it could be a big possibility, that if you're running on the bottom of the Verrazano Bridge, don't run on the edges, because people on the top may urinate over the edge.
Yeah, I think it's 50% myth and 50% fact, and that's what you tend to read and hear about it, don't you? So some people swear that it happens, other people say it's a myth, and some person was even sort of saying by the time that the wee has sort of gone down, it would have been all dissipated in the atmosphere anyway. So who knows? Just stay away from the edges and be safe would be my call. And we're going to stay probably on the right-hand side anyway, because Sharon and I will be relatively slow going up and over the Verrazano Bridge. So, and then we come into Brooklyn, and I think is there 3 different layouts, and we all converge around mile 8, I think.
It's something like that, yeah. So New York is similar to London. It's that even though everyone starts in the same area, but then they kind of start in different areas and they all merge together.
Yeah.
I can't, maybe the 12K mark, potentially 12, 13K mark.
Yeah, I'm thinking that because that's just awesome when you catch up with everyone, I think. So let me see if I can pull that up while we're talking about it. There's a 2024 map on Strava. That's interesting. Course map. That's what I want. And once again, it's all equated back to your color in your waves and so the pink ones that go under the bridge, for example, and then there's greens and blues that go up over, and it may only be 2 this year by the looks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
because I can't remember if it was 2 or 3.
Yeah, it's sorry, blue race, pink race, orange race. So there's 3. You're right. So, and they all converge at around. I'm thinking you're correct, around that 8K mark, and that's when we all run together. So it's New York's an interesting race for the amount of people that's on the course. I never felt crowded at New York.
No, I was just about to say the same thing. Like, yeah, and considering how many thousands of people run in it, it doesn't feel congested at all. And that's like, it's busy. Don't get us wrong, but if you want to get a free flow, you can. And it's not. I wouldn't classify. I would say New York is probably one of the flatter marathon majors. Like, it's got a couple of inclines, which are mainly the bridges.
Yeah.
But other than that, maybe the few minor inclines through Central Park at the end, but my version of an incline is anything that's not straight. Let's face it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I hear people describe New York as worse than Boston and the most hilly major. Yeah, and I don't get it because, and once again, I've got to temper this with Sharon and I. First marathon, we had no idea what a hilly or what a flat marathon felt like. So we just ran what we did, and we're walk runners, as you know. So if we were going up and over a bridge, we'd probably have been walking that, and then we were running down, which just made sense to us. But to me, it didn't. The only time I felt the hills or the overpasses is when we were coming through. You've done the big long straight in First Avenue, and you're turning back through Harlem and Bronx area, and all of a sudden that's when, oh my God, we've got another hill to get over. So maybe it is hilly, I don't know, but I'll report back on that one. So, but there are big long straight stretches that are flat. I remember distinctly going through Bedford Avenue as you're coming into Williamsburg and the cool hip area that is Williamsburg. There's a lot of bars on the side of the street, and those people come out and they give you probably running space for about 4 runners if you're lucky to come across. And that's just party central. You see people. I remember I've got a video somewhere of girls dressed in 70s disco gear and playing Aretha Franklin. I Will Survive by Gloria. Yeah, whoever that lady was. Yeah, I've forgotten. I Will Survive. And so that was pretty cool area to be going through. You go across Queens, and everyone says Queens has got this distinct personality, and it does. Even the signs were tough. Like, Queens has got this tough sort of reputation, and even the signs felt a bit tough. You've come out of Brooklyn's party central, band on every corner, and you're coming into the Queens area, and it's like, oh my God, it does feel a bit tough. And then you go over a couple of bridges, you go across the Queensborough Bridge, and that was really quiet, wasn't it? And all you hear is other runners and your footsteps. And that's when I had problems with my knees. I actually we had quite an extended stop on that bridge because I had to sort of put my kneecap back into place. It's a bit of a shudder. But then you come into First Ave, right? So you come down, and just awesome, wasn't it?
It's just, and it's hard to really explain how amazing it is unless you experience it for yourself, because as you said, Tony, the bridge, dead quiet. You're just hearing feet on the pavement, and that's it. You come off, and if memory serves me correct, it's a left turn, and then slight left, and then slight right.
Yeah, it's sort of like a loop under the bridge that gets you back onto First Ave.
But it's just like, good luck. Well, if you're trying to listen to music, good luck, because you're not going to hear it. But it's just, and that's what keeps me going, is the crowds, just feeding off the crowds, and how everyone is so supportive. And they've been out there for hours. They've probably been out there watching the elite. So absolute kudos to them, and they love it. You can tell that they're doing it not because they have to, but because they want to.
Yeah. And it's just, and once again, there's a lot of parties happening down that First Avenue. I remember coming down Queensborough Bridge, and you can sort of start picking up the roar when you're maybe about 3/4 across the bridge, and then you start to veer down, and you're saying, oh my God, it is true. Listen to this noise. And then it's almost a disappointment that you do that left turn because the crowd's not there. But the minute you come out back under that, the underpass of the bridge, and the crowd, it just sort of smacks you, doesn't it? It just whacks you. And it was really cool. And that, I cannot remember running along First Avenue because I was just carried by the crowd.
I would agree, because like kind of at one point it's like, is this actually happening?
Yeah.
Like, it's just the best place to soak it all in, take your photos, take your videos, like, and just to hold on to those memories.
Yeah. And we're talking about, like, you're running along First Ave, and it's like you're coming off the bridge at mile 16. You've got mile 17, mile 18, mile 19. That's all First Ave. So it's all straight. So that's a 3-mile run. That's a 5K run along First Avenue fundamentally. And I can't remember running it because the crowd support just lifted me and carried me the whole way. So, and then we do a sort of bit of a loopy thing through Harlem and the Bronx, I think, if I've got this right. And then you join up at Fifth Ave. And once again, you're looking at a really, 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 really long stretch towards the end that's just straight, isn't it? So you hit First Ave. I think you've done the 21-mile just as you're coming on to Fifth Avenue. And by the time you get and enter Central Park, you are at mile 24.
Yeah, it's a couple of Ks to go, because I think one of the first things that I thought, okay, sweet, coming into the park, I'm nearly done. And I'm like, and I do remember saying to myself, where the heck is the finish line? Because you just feel like you're just going forever and forever and forever. But again, the crowds, and they've got stands in the park, and then as you come closer to the finish, you see flags either side, like, and you're trying to spot and I remember I was trying to spot the Australia flag, and again, it's just the crowd getting you through that last stretch.
Yeah. It's I remember coming into Central Park, and everyone tells you when you enter Central Park, you still got 2 miles to go. But it still doesn't change the fact that in your mind you're saying it's not far to go, I'm in Central Park. But you're in Central Park with 2 miles to go, and there's a couple of hills. And what surprised me was the crowd support through Central Park. Like you run Centennial Park in Sydney as part of the Sydney Marathon, and you might see mum, dad, and the kids down there with the dog, right? But there are people lined along the roadway in Central Park cheering you, and it's just phenomenal. The New York Marathon is by far one of the best one I've had for support. And we came into Central Park, it was still daylight by the time we came out and re-entered, because you come out and you re-enter, and that's where that Columbus Circle is when you re-enter. And it was dark by the time we re-entered. So I've never looked at my stats or whatever, but I reckon we'll pretty slow go around Central Park just quietly. But either that or it gets dark really, really quickly. So, but that finish line was just awesome. And the funny story about my finish line is I had my camera out filming, and Sharon wanted to hold my hand. So, of course, she wanted to hold the hand that had the camera. So I had to hold the camera in one hand and hold her hand with the other one. And it's the most, it was our most favorite marathon, but it's the most awkward finishing shot that we've got because it just looks ridiculous. So note to Tony, do not tape the finish. And I haven't ever taped the finish again because of that. So interesting.
No doubt, Tim will. And then I remember crossing the finish line because I had my goal. I wanted under 6 hours.
Yeah.
And I was calculating at one point, I can't remember which came like all touch and go. And then I think it was the last maybe 5Ks, and I'm working out how much time have I got left, working out how much I would have to do per K. And I came in under 6 hours. I think it was like 5 hours, 53:40. So crossing the finish line, like realizing I've done it.
Yeah.
I've done New York, gone under 6 hours, get your medal, you get your foil blanket. And I remember having that sheet put on you was one of the best things ever.
Yeah. It's a long walk after you finish too. So in our case, you got the foil blanket, then they gave you a plastic bag full of stuff.
Yep.
And then you got your medal, and then later on you got your poncho, and you're still not out of the park, and you're walking for forever. And then you're turning into, it must be 6th Avenue. I'm guessing you turn into 6th Ave to then come back and start catching up with friends and family. And all we wanted was a McDonald's thick shake. And do you think we could find one? So our kids ended up finding one from Shake Shack or something, and it just wasn't the same. So, but yeah, a magical experience all around. And then random strangers just congratulating you on doing the New York Marathon. Sharon and I were 6:31. So congratulations on beating 6, because we certainly didn't. And I don't even know if we're going to beat 6 this coming Sunday at all. But
who cares?
Yeah, I'm not overly worried about it. My initial thought when we said we were going to do New York again as our victory lap is I wanted to beat last time by an hour. So I wanted to go 5:31. We're not going to do that. I don't even have that in my plans to do that. And if we go under 6, I'll be incredibly happy. And if we go over 6, I'll be incredibly happy, because it's just giving us the opportunity that many people would love to. And I'm going to have the opportunity to run New York twice. And that's all that really matters for me at the moment. So just looking forward to it.
I am envious of you all doing it, because, as I've said previously, I think I've wanted London to be my victory lap, but I'm changing my mind. I'm thinking, do I just do New York? Because just the memories.
Yeah.
Because someone said it to me perfect. I caught up with a friend after Melbourne 2 weeks ago now. She goes, do the one that gave you the most enjoyment and the one you've got the better memories of.
Yeah.
And yeah, just like the Frank Sinatra song, the JC, and I think Alicia Keys, their song they did. Each time I hear those, straight away, I just think of the marathon.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. Hey, Luch, we've been going for 48 minutes, believe it or not.
Jesus.
Yeah. So is there anything else that we need to talk about with the New York Marathon? Because I just cannot wait to jump on this plane now.
I just enjoy it. Wishing Sharon and yourself, Tara, Tim, and all of our friends the best of luck. Just soak up the experience, because New York is like no other.
Yeah, 100%. Now, do you have Lucia's tip?
Lucia's, now, no surprise, it's kind of centered around no regrets.
Okay.
Now, you may or may not laugh, but this is more about no regrets when it comes to expos.
Oh.
If you see something that you like, obviously, as long as it's within your budget, if you've set a budget, don't have any regret to do it, because you don't know if you're going to get an opportunity to go back and do that race one day. So if you can, get it, because marathons, it's one of those things that some of us are fortunate enough to do and not everyone can do. And you want to have that special memento from the race, because I've got a regret from Boston. Like, I wish I would have brought one of the Adidas singlets. I didn't.
Okay.
But so it's like, yeah, so don't have any, if there's something that you like, get it, because you've worked hard. Enjoy the spoils.
Yep, 100%. 100%. All righty. I have no idea what's happening next week for our wonderful listeners, but I'm imagining that Tim, Tara, Lucia, and Tony will be back on the podcast together talking about everything that's just gone down. So a bit of a recap, and I guess for Team Ellis, it'll be a recap on everything that they've been up to, whether it's Chicago, Niagara, and then New York, and then bundling it all together. I think Tim's got a milestone birthday that we're sort of downplaying because no one's going there for your birthday, Tim. We're going there. So just to make sure that we get that straight, because I know it's Tim has sometimes had a joke that all these people are coming to New York for his birthday. I think he's quoted 53,000 of his closest friends, and apparently. So I think we're doing something else. We just happen to be there on your birthday, but no doubt we will have a beer or two. So I'll let you close us out tonight, Luch.
Awesome. And guys, and with that, our episode comes to an end. If you've liked what you've listened to or seen, please like and subscribe wherever you listen or watch the video. Videos are available on Spotify and YouTube, and the audio will be available on Apple Podcasts, Amazon, and anywhere else that you can download your favorite podcasts. And remember, every step forward is a victory. Lace up, hit the road, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Until then, happy running.
Happy running.